afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, dear radio listeners of Radio Veritas, and welcome to the program Testimony. Testimony is a program that we bring on board children of God of all walks of life, men and women of goodwill, to testify their relationship with God and with man. One in point, ladies and gentlemen, is Dr. William Tasong. He is a UK-based businessman and philanthropist. Of course, on the sidelines of his visit in his native Cameroon, we caught up with this, of course, with this ardent Catholic, and we wanted to give him the opportunity to, on this platform, to testify his relationship to God, and of course to make him known, to make the public out there get to acquaint themselves to what he's doing that impacts society, because he had an added zeal for charity, for carrying out philanthropic activities to humanity. Dr. William Tasong, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Augustine, and good afternoon to all your listeners. It's a pleasure to meet you once more.
Yeah, of course. You are welcome to Veritas.
Thank you once more.
Okay. When did you arrive Cameroon?
I arrived Cameroon at the weekend, so I've just been here for about 5 days now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Tasong, get your mic very close to you. My technician, good, beautiful. Dr. William Tasong, first and foremost, you are a Cameroonian born.
That's right. I was born in Menji in the BLM division. So, and obviously did my primary school and secondary school there. And then following that, I moved on to Boya, where I studied my A-levels at Lycée Moliko Boya.
Okay.
And then upon graduating from Boya, I was actually the best student there. So
wow.
I won a Cameroon government scholarship to study in Britain.
Okay.
So I've been in Britain for the last 31 years now. So
this is incredible. It's slightly, it's just something slightly above my age, 31 years.
31 years. So, and then obviously I've had the opportunity to study at one of the world's best universities. So I did a PhD at University of Sheffield.
Okay.
The BSc at University of Leeds. And then I've had the opportunity to work with one of the world's best corporations.
Wow.
And I felt that, obviously, upon acquiring all that knowledge, I guess you could say I'm privileged, but I think it's God's grace, basically.
Because, yes, in fact, you should be one of the few Cameroonians that enjoyed the privilege of having the scholarship. Is very rare to go by these days.
Obviously, we were just about the second to the last group, I think. So after me, then another group came, and that was it for that time.
You defended thesis in what?
I defended my thesis on the high performance concrete materials. So basically, if you look at the construction of high-rise building, for example, you won't be able to mix the concrete just like you will do for your normal day-to-day work within your backyard, because you need concrete that can sustain, the weight of the building. You need concrete that can sustain, the wind, the cracking, all the dimensional forces that would be applied to it. So in order to achieve that material, you need to be able to come up with something that, can achieve strength, can achieve strength in all directions, the tensile strength, the compressive strength, and whatever you can think of. My thesis was basically looking at the weaker points within that concrete material. And those are normally the interfaces between the different components.
Okay.
As you know, the strength of every material is determined by its weak link.
Okay.
So if I take this string now and begin to pull it, it's going to break at the weaker point.
Wow.
And so for you to achieve a strength of high material, you need to make sure that you deal with those weak points. So the more you can fix the weak point, the better the material will become in terms of strength.
Dr. William Tasong is a Cameroonian born from Menji. Menji is in Libialem division of the southwest region of Cameroon. From a family of how many?
Well, obviously I come from a polygamous family.
It's typical African.
Typical African, and I don't want to give my father a bad name, but
no.
It's obvious that obviously within my own household with my mother, I'm the last born of 8.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Wow, the last born of 8.
That's right.
Is Dr. William Tasong a family man?
I'm a family man myself, so I got 3 children.
Wow.
Two of them are at the university, and then one at primary school.
Okay. Is any of them studying in the same prestigious university you studied?
Not really the same, but obviously some university of equal rank, I guess. And my first daughter is studying a degree in architecture. Then my second daughter will be starting medicine this year.
Okay. Wow. Now, let me come back. Dr. William Tasong, after your rich academic profile, why didn't you come back home and delivered your know-how to move this country forward?
Basically, if you could just look at it from the point of view, maybe if I could just quote you Matthew 25, when they talk about the parable of the talent, they said to one he gave 5 talents, to the other he gave 2,
correct,
and to the third he gave 1. And when the master came back to take account, the one with 5 said, Master, you gave me 5, I brought you 5 more.
Good.
The second said, you gave me 2, I brought you 4 more.
Correct.
Or 2 more to make
2
it 4.
more.
Meanwhile, the last guy came in and said, I know you're a very hard man. You reap where you don't sow. And I went and dug it and hide it. Take your talent.
Lazy nature.
Yes, so it's exactly the same thing. I've had the privilege of God, taking me into places that I can only dream of.
Okay.
I've worked in corporate organizations that I could only dream of, coming from my background in Menji, I guess, where I went to school barely walking barefoot, no shoes on. So I felt that, it's imperative upon me to not just carry this knowledge and decorate my walls with it.
Okay.
I should be able to bring that knowledge back home and encourage young people to be able to help them, from based on what I've learned, help them achieve and develop their full potential.
Okay.
And so I started my foundation, the William Tasong Foundation.
Okay.
Basically to be able to achieve these aims. So
William Tasong Foundation, you created already?
That's correct. And it's fully registered here in Cameroon. And we have quite a few programs running.
Okay.
So our key objective, basically, like I said, is to help young people achieve their full potential.
Okay.
We're looking at this through a series of different objectives. One of them is entrepreneurship and innovation.
Okay.
So we feel that for the country to move forward, we really need people to invent and innovate and be able to change or turn these conceptual ideas into tangible businesses that could actually not just become a source of income to themselves, but they could also employ their peers. And by so doing, all the frustration that most of our youth tend to feel will obviously be alleviated. We're also looking at educational aspects.
Okay.
Because we feel that going forward, I guess you could say that you are what you learn. So some of the problems that we're facing in this country obviously stem from the way we taught and brought up. People are taught to just read and regurgitate what the teacher has told them, which means they cannot think on their feet, they cannot invent, they cannot innovate. And there's absolutely no way you can develop a country if people don't innovate and think on their feet. You can't solve a problem if you cannot think about it. So we think that it's quite imperative, essentially, to review the way we train our young people, starting from nursery schools.
Okay.
So, and we also feel that the curriculum should really be changed. You can't have a situation where people are just reading and repeating and reading and repeating. So we want a situation where people are trained to innovate and invent and see the big picture. There is a world out there from the classroom.
Okay.
And we also feel that it's also important to, if a child is going into the university, for example, they need proper advice. Why are you studying this course? What do you intend to do with that course? How is that course going to prepare you to meet the challenges of the future?
Course orientation.
Yes, everything has to be, why are you doing something? And what is the benefit? Even the government granting permission for some of these courses to run at the university, what's the purpose? And why should you be focusing on those courses when the challenge of the country are better solved by training people in a particular way? And if you look at the way the future is moving, things like artificial intelligence, which is going to dominate the next few years in terms of human development. If you come into the country here,
When you talk about artificial intelligence, what do you mean?
I mean things like machines doing things for human. So today you got self-driven cars. We're going to be sending things to the moon and doing all that. And, most of those things are automated. So you don't need a human to do a lot of things these days.
Okay.
But when you look at that extent, from that point of view, and then you come back to the country here, and if I go to a typical university in Cameroon, for example, what do I find? Can we really match that? And are we really looking? Are we building to be able to meet those sort of competitive advantage that our peers and countries already have? So when you ask those questions, that's why we feel that at our foundation, we want to be able to, help in ensuring that we don't just study. We study because we want to achieve something out of it. And also, there's no point studying and then roaming the street with a degree in your pocket.
That's right.
Be an Einstein and then you can feed yourself. That doesn't really add up. So we want to be able to have a situation where young people can, match what they learn with where they are going in terms of the future, in terms of the career, in terms of being able to sustain themselves, basically.
Dr. William Tasong, how long have this foundation been existing?
We initially registered the foundation in 2016, but then the crisis that started in the English section kind of held us back. But over the past 2 years now, we've actually revamped it again.
Okay.
And some of the key things that we've done so far is we develop a new material, which is sustainable. The idea behind the material is that we should be able to improve our infrastructure at about 60% cheaper than you will do with a normal cost of construction material. We're also looking at, we have a mentorship program that is currently ongoing. So basically we invite young people some who are already in business or some that already just have the concept in their head. And we help them, guide them through taking those ideas, developing them, and making products out of it. So we have quite a good number of examples out there already for people that we've actually helped take their projects from concept to developing and having a business that's currently on running. And that's not really all of what we do. We also, give them solid training on how to manage this product development life cycle. Say, for example, we felt that in everything you do, just like I told you, my thesis was around the strength of a material being determined by the weaker point. The same principle applies in business. It applies in you and I, the way you run your family, the way you do everything. If you have a weak link in your family, you can't do much. If you have a weak link in your business, you can't do much. So within the business or within a product life cycle, a weak link can be anything. And it can happen between, the process from start to finish. When I say process from start to finish, I mean you have an idea to start with. You probably need material to prepare the product. Upon preparing the product, you have a procedure to prepare the product. That means you may have some machinery or some factory or some process. And then upon finishing that product, you will need to get a message out there. That's advertisement and marketing. And then before you need to transport that to the supermarket or wherever it is, and then the customer will buy, and then that will be the end product. You get the money. Within that chain, if you have a weak link, no matter how good your product is, for example, if you have a bad link in advertising, nobody will know about your product. That means nobody buys your product. So even if you have a good product, if you don't sell it to the customer at the end of the day, you haven't really achieved anything. So we train these young people to understand that everything matters. And I'll give you another typical example. We had a situation where some of them, their weak link is a source of raw material for their product.
Okay.
Some rely on Nigeria, for example, as a source. And sometimes when the border is closed because of any incidents, they could go for months and they don't have the raw material. So that means they are stuck. They can't do anything. So one of the things we do is to identify those sort of weak challenges and give them instructions and help on how to go around those challenges. So for example, instead of relying on Nigeria, for example, everything always have an alternative, So instead of wait for Nigeria, why don't you look at alternative sources within Cameroon which can produce similar effect on your product?
Okay.
It may not necessarily be exactly the same name or the same chemical composition, but if you mix two things, you may achieve the same chemical composition,
Yeah.
and then you can do your product. So we teach them all that kind of different tricks.
Dr. William Tasong, your idea is to give back what you had, what you were equally given, what you were equally opportune to have. Today you want to give back to the Cameroonian society through your foundation. How do young people get, affiliated to Dr. William's Tasong Foundation?
We got our website, which is tasongfoundation.org. They can contact us through that, or they can contact us through our telephone number, which will be 679-590329. I repeat that number again, 679-590329. Or they can contact our website at tasongfoundation.org.
Now, you are a Cameroonian born but UK based philanthropies. How do you coordinate activities of a foundation?
We have an office. We have an office
created.
Here. We have an office in Cameroon.
Okay.
And then obviously I also run some of this training mentorship program myself. So we have sessions, weekly sessions that we hold with a group of them through Zoom meeting calls. So we have a set of plan, and each of our program normally run for 3 months. So every Saturday, for example, so we had a set of plan. Say for example, week 1 we give them a general idea around, like I said, this concept of strength and weaknesses and everything, and how to identify them. Then we go on to do other things, production process. How do you make sure that, say for example, you are producing soap? How do you make sure that if you employ someone else to work with you, they will produce the same quality of soap? So you do that by making sure that you have a well-defined process and procedure, such that even if you're not there and somebody else is doing it, they're mixing the same, waiting the same time before the packaging and all that. So at the end of the day, you get exactly the same quality product. So we train them all those kind of train. We also train them on decision making, because it's very key, very important that in life you are what you decide, right? So if you don't make the right decision at the right time, you will not be able to move ahead. So we train them different techniques on how to make decisions. And we also recognize that failure in life is something you cannot avoid. Failure will always come. And how do you deal with that? And it's very important as a business person to appreciate failure and don't see failure as a hindrance. See failure as a way of motivating you to learn more. And we will give them typical lifetime examples, like you see a light bulb. The person that invented the light bulb had to try more than 2,000 times to get it right. So he didn't give up. So if he could go 2,000 times, you know what that means and how long it took him. But he got there. Today we have a light bulb, and we can see properly at night. So we try and make them to see that you are not alone to fail. And when you fail, in fact, when you fail, you learn more than when you pass the first time. So we try to do all kinds of approach to make sure the world geared to face the business well.
Dr. William Tasong, when you look at intelligentsia as a whole, particularly the Cameroonian intelligentsia, one would have expected to hear that Dr. William Tasong is, an associate professor in the university, Cambridge. Why did you, after, this rich academic profile, decided to be a philanthropist?
Initially, obviously, I've been academic in the past. So when I finished my PhD, in fact, like I said, I feel really thankful to God because I completed my PhD at 25 years old. So
wow.
Barely 6 years since I got my A-levels from Boya. I was able to complete my PhD, and then I worked at the university lecturing and researching for about 3 years, which I published quite a lot of papers. If you go me online, you will see a lot of my work published on those concepts around the strength of material being determined by the weak link. And obviously, I didn't feel academy was my thing. Because it felt like you're in a little box, right? So every day you go and stand on the wall and teach the same thing. The next set of students come, you stand on the board and teach the same thing. So I thought I didn't get motivation doing that.
Okay.
So I thought I'd move into business.
Yeah. Now, let's come. What is your relationship with God? You started this program by quoting the scriptures.
I always felt that whatever I've done today is really God giving me the impetus to do it, basically. Because if I trace my background, I've come from a poor family, so I haven't really say I will pinpoint any godfather that has helped me. And so I always pray and get my inspiration from God all the time. So everything I do, I feel that God is leading me to do it.
How do you practice your faith as a Catholic? Why in the UK?
Obviously, I go to church every Sunday, obviously before the COVID situation, but and I always pray every night as well, and
All
I
right.
always make sure that I put God first.
You inculcate these same values in your children?
Obviously, but then the European children, it's difficult when they become teenagers, but when they were young, yes. But at the moment, I guess they do have quite a lot of those values within them, and I hope they will continue to build on that.
Okay. Are you guys in the UK church going already since the outbreak of the pandemic?
Some churches have opened, and obviously with the normal COVID restrictions in place, of course. But there's this general fear in the air about not going to places that there are so many people in case you get caught up in the COVID situation. And then also, given the nature of my work, I cannot afford at times to get quarantined. And so you avoid places of crowd, mainly because if you go near, then somebody within that crowd get identified as a COVID victim, the track and trace will mean you too will need to quarantine, which kind of give us the fear of not going too close to so many people. So if you feel that you cannot be quarantined for 7 to 10 days because of the nature of your work, sometimes it's best to stay away. But I do pray at home and watch services online from my local parish. Yeah.
Now, keeping the coronavirus pandemic aside, what picture can you paint of the UK church?
Oh, obviously, things are a little different over there because I think the way people see church is a little different. I guess if you really difficult to put it into words, but yeah, majority of young people these days they don't tend to want to go to church. I think they prefer other things, but you still get the elderly people that go to church quite well. Yeah.
What do you think is carrying the young in Europe away from church and from God?
I presume it's obviously so many influences happening these days, with a lot of information everywhere, the social media and all sorts, and so you get it. This concept of who is right and who is wrong, human rights and all kinds of stuff has just make the whole mix become very difficult for people to pick and choose. So everybody's now is right with whatever they think. So in some cases, what used to be wrong is right, what is wrong is right, and what is not right is wrong, and all sort of stuff. So it's quite a delicate mix.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the program Testimony only on Radio Veritas, the Catholic radio of the Archdiocese of Douala. We are playing host this afternoon to Dr. William Tasong. He's a Cameroonian born, based in the UK. Of course, he's a businessman, a philanthropist. He's giving his testimony on Radio Veritas that, of course, what he intends to do in order to impact the Cameroonian society. As of now, Dr. Williams Foundation was established far back in 2016. Though the escalation of the Anglophone crisis, you say, kind of hindered the progress. As of today, as you arrive Cameroon, have activities actually been revamped?
Oh, certainly. Like I said, 2 years ago, we started looking into this production of material that would help alleviate some of the construction challenges that we're facing. So, and we've actually come up with this material. We had the Tasong Foundation research assistant at one of the universities in the country that obviously I personally supervised and invented this material. So we're able now to, hopefully we will commercialize that and get to the point where we can use that material to develop affordable housing and also develop things like road infrastructure using that material. And we're talking about a material that you can use to construct either a building or road at about 60% cheaper than the typical price that you pay when you go to the market.
Building a road?
Well, not necessarily. It depends the kind of road, I guess, because we're still testing our material. But if you look at streets, making street more decent and more easy for people to use. And if you're looking at building low-rise building, that doesn't require the kind of strength I was talking about. If you're building a 100-story building, if you're talking about just building a normal bungalow or something, then the kind of material should be sufficient, and it would save you quite a lot of money.
Dr. William Tasong, as of today, what has been the public perception of your concept?
Initially, we have initially wanted to stay low, and as you know, my father used to tell us that the bird that speaks too much doesn't build a house. So we initially started try to keep it low. It's only now that we're beginning to now come up to the public to let the public understand what we're trying to achieve. And in fact, our foundation, as you're looking at these businesses, we're looking at also helping. We have also young people that we're working who are doing digital businesses. So we're helping them build digital platform. Because obviously I'm an IT expert myself, so we helping these young people develop online businesses because we feel that the future is digital, and obviously the AI element that I mentioned earlier is something that I'm quite concerned that the country doesn't seem to be taking that into consideration in terms of how we plan, because the future is AI basically, and if you cannot really adapt those concepts early on, again, like in everything else, we will get left behind as we seems to be already. So the technology gap seems to be widening, which is quite alarming, and I think we need to draw the attention of the people concerned to ensure that these sort of things are put into the plan.
What can you say about the enthusiasm and the enrollment of young people in Dr. Williams Tasong Foundation?
Our enthusiasm has been quite excellent. As I'll give you 3 examples. Since I came back to the country, I have been doing the rounds in terms of those that I've already trained in the past to see where they are now. And it's been quite impressive. And I spoke to one young lady a few days ago who told me that before she came to my training program, she was producing just 14 units of our product every week, and now she's producing 30. And she just finished the program less than two months ago. So she's already able to more or less more than double the capacity of her production, and she's looking to even do more than that, in the next few months. And she's taking on new staff as well. And also had one that has developed a product, developing oil from avocado pear, and it's been able to take the process from start to finish and bottle with label, with the design, and her brand and everything, and they are now being marketed. So you get a real life example of people that are doing quite well. And also have a platform, a digital platform. Some other young people that we're developing a digital platform where they intend to take courses to people in interlands, for example. During the preparation of GCE and other A-level exams, a lot of children don't have access to content that they will use to prepare. So these young people are building a platform that will enable everybody concerned really to subscribe. You're able to download past questions. You're able to have a mentor. You're able to have a live teacher. You're able to have a live laboratory as well. And these young people in the villages, some of them don't have any laboratory, don't have any library. So this platform is something that can be accessible through the mobile phone, and they can download content and subscribe and prepare for their exams and have some tutor online. So those are some of the examples of some of the projects.
Now, what's the criteria? Quite a number of young Cameroonians are listening to Dr. William Tasong, and if they want to get enrolled into your foundation in order to be given orientation, to make it in life, to be self-reliant, to be self-employed. That is what you're talking all about. Those who listen to you, what is the criteria of getting enrolled in your foundation?
The criteria to us tend to be that we obviously we cannot take everybody, and so we have a way of filtering those who fail. And the whole idea here is, we know that with the African society, if you can get just one person in the family who is reasonable, can do something great, the knock-on effect in terms of how he feels down to the rest of the people around him is going to be tremendous. So we take all those things into account when we interview people. So we interview people in terms of they tell us what they're already doing. If they already have a business, for example, that makes it better because we can see that this individual already has something, in him or in her that we could help them enhance. Or if they have a very good idea and they can express that idea properly and show the right attitude, because it's all about attitude. Like we said earlier, if you are somebody that when you fail the first time you give up, who think you won't be suitable. You're looking at people that have this grit in them, someone that doesn't take a no for an answer, somebody can push beyond the boundary. And so we try to do that when we vet people for the program. So we look at so many different criteria basically. So that by the time we take someone on, we feel that firstly, if we're scheduling training, they're not going to give excuses because they waste my time and waste everybody else's time. We make sure that you are that kind of person that you say you are who you are really. And so that, so if anybody out there listening to us, if you feel that you have what it takes and you feel that you have a good idea and you feel that you need some support, we will be happy to hear from you. And we don't just train them, we also sometimes offer financial assistance to help them develop these ideas.
Now, I was coming to this. Do you give this training for free?
The training is for free. And
at your foundation?
Yes, it's for free. And then, like I said, it's about giving back, right? We don't give back and then take. So we only don't just give the free training. In some cases, if we feel that the individual has a really good idea and they're struggling with funding, we would chip in where necessary to support wherever way we can.
Can you give an example of an individual who might be, who might be talented, having a vision? In what domain?
We feel that, the mistake we make sometimes is that when we were growing up, your parents say, oh, we want you to be a lawyer, we want you to be a doctor, we want you to be that. And as I was touching on education earlier, I think what I was trying to actually say there is that not everybody will go to the university. We have to accept that.
Correct.
Not everybody was meant to go to to be a lawyer. As I was talking about the talent, right? They said to one you get 5, to the other you get 2, and to the other you get 1. And that was based on their ability. So we know from our religion and from the Bible that we don't have the same abilities. And that transcends across the society. So the young people don't have to be pressurized to think that I must go to the university. And then they end up going to the university and studying some of these courses that you really wonder why you even waste your time going there, because it's not going to help you put food on your table.
Yeah.
And you're not really meant for that anyway. So if you're not meant for that, you're wasting your time.
Sure.
So based on this concept, we felt that we look at people based on what we think they can offer. For example, if you're coming to me and you're talking about doing something in IT, for example, I will sit down with you. What's your capability for being able to, go through all that 20 or 50 steps that you fail and still get up and try? That would depend on what you have, right? Your capacity and your talent, just like we say with the Bible, talent show, parable. So if we cannot identify that you have that, then we can advise you on something else. But that's how we really we look at every individual separately.
As of now, since the foundation was established and created, you say you did some evaluations this time around. How many young Cameroonians have you given orientation, or have you actually subsidized?
I think at the moment we're talking about not just Cameroon, we're talking about businesses really. And we have at least 20 functional businesses now that can say are there because we have been there to help them do better. Yeah, and we're hoping, this mentorship program run every 3 months, so we're adding onto that. In fact, currently as I'm here, we have a current session going.
Wow. Yeah. Yes, I equally wanted to come to that. At which intervals do you people carrying the training programs, and how many persons do you retain for each training session?
We normally, obviously, we have each session is five mentees because we don't want it too much because it's interactive. So the way we train them is very interactive. So, for example, if I pick a typical weakness, I can say this week we're looking at weaknesses in business, and I say your business is to do X, Y, Z, yours is to do D, Y, A. I want you to go and identify any weak point that you think is in your business, and then you come and present that, and then we help you, evaluate if you've done well, and then I can chip in and tell you that look. If your business is to bottle water, you need to buy the bottle, you need to clean the water, you need to purify the water, you need to test that water, you need to do all those things. And then you guide them, because sometimes they miss those steps themselves, even though they've been doing it. And I can ask the basic question: what happens if you're not there and somebody else has to repeat the same thing? How would they know what you were doing before? That means you have to document, you have to make sure your procedures are clear, You have to make sure that everything, the steps are quite clean and clear for everyone to see. So those are some of the things that we try and train them. So you don't just do things, you do them professionally and you do them by standard as well.
Dr. William Tasong, you are guest on Radio Veritas in the program Testimony today. Before we will be, of course, closing on this program Testimony with you, Dr. William Tasong, I want to ask, you have been in the UK for the past 31 years. As a Cameroonian born, what have you diagnosed that need to be done for this country to take off the ground?
Well, basically, looking at it from, it's quite a difficult question to answer, to be honest with you, really, because you're looking at two extremes. The gap between is really big to cross. But basically, what I see here is the number one thing here to me is attitude. Our attitude here is completely below par. You can never build a country and succeed with this sort of attitude that we have. I'll just give you a simple example. I had a conversation once with somebody fairly senior, and we were talking about technology, and I was telling them that, look, I come to Cameroon to do work because I got an IT software company here, and I have a lot of challenges around just the basic thing to download a file is a nightmare. Then this guy was so confident to tell me that in Cameroon we have very good technology I can use, and then I asked him, what do you mean by that? He gave me an example that he can use his WhatsApp whenever I go to Cameroon. And I thought you could just imagine that if somebody thinks that level, and that's how most people think, they think technology means I can just send an email, I can just do that, but then they forget that if we're talking about we're talking about technology, not just that technology that really could help you move from A to B, and that's not WhatsApp basically. And attitude to me is terrible as well. If people want to do something, they try once, they fail, say, It's also quite challenging to see that we over-rely on people. Say, for example, people are not properly trained from young to be able to do things for themselves. I'll just give you one simple example. Our children in the UK, for example, by the time they get to about 12, 13 years old, they start training them at school how to work. So they start delivering, for example, newspapers after school and earning pocket money. So they're already used to that. And then by the time they get to about 16, they're doing holiday jobs. So they're already used to waking up 9 to 5, having the responsibility of keeping to time and being on time and, fitting into the real world gradually. But if you see a typical Cameroonian student, for example, they graduate at university at about 22, 24, they've never done a holiday job, they've never done anything, they live with their mom, they're still complaining, they're still doing all kinds of stuff. And then you begin to wonder how, with that kind of attitude, would somebody not struggle? It's very obvious, right? So
yeah,
very obvious. They're too over-reliant on their family, over-relying on everything, and as everything else, if you're too comfortable, you go nowhere. I'm sure you know a few examples of people that outstayed their living with their parents.
That's right.
And those sort of people, when you see them, when they're real grown up in their 40s, that effect is still there. They're going nowhere. So that kind of attitude needs to really change, basically. We need to train people to be very active, very industrious, very forward-thinking. And I also felt that people are very unreliable here. And they think they're too smart. Which is the most stupid way to be smart. Because you could not be smart by being stupid.
That's right.
So they think they can con you for money, they can do all that, but they forget that if you can then you would have worked to get the money for them to con, you can't be stupid that,
That's correct.
You can't get that money being stupid. So people are so quick gains, quick fix. Nothing, Rome was not built in a day, they say, right? So that statement just didn't come from the air. It's a true statement. You can't just develop, if you see somebody, they say the man standing on top of the mountain did not just land there, he climbed the mountain. And he must have fallen many times. You don't see how many times he fell, but he's on the top of the mountain. So you don't just say, the man is on top of the mountain, I want to be on top of the mountain. You don't know how long it took him to get there. You don't know how many times he fell before he got to the top.
Correct.
So the Cameroonians, they like quick fix. By so doing, they start getting, I don't want to use the word corrupt, but I think that word needs to be said,
Yeah.
So you get people start getting corrupt, use corrupt means to get there. And if you use corrupt means to get there, that means you haven't been well prepared. If you look at the process of preparing diamond is formed through high pressure, high temperature, high everything. So it's exactly the same concept with the human. If you suddenly bribe your way to the top, you haven't gone through the process. That means you don't know what it takes to fail.
That's
You
right.
don't know what it takes to succeed. You don't know what it takes when a difficult situation hit. Which is why you see most often the people running the show, if you haven't got there by process, you can't run the show properly because the show consists of challenges and problems.
Correct.
And you learn how to solve problems by experience. So if you just jump and you get there because somebody put you there through corruption, it's obvious that you can't perform. And that's why the country doesn't go anywhere. We have a circle, everything going up and down, going up and down. We are a very rich country. We just need to try and make sure that we do things properly, train our people right. It's no point you investing a lot of money running university courses that takes your country to nowhere. So we have decent courses we could do, courses on appropriate technology. That's technology that helps you solve your immediate problems. There's no point studying theoretical history, talking about Mungo Park and all kinds of people that it's good. You can do that as your part-time. But how does that help you move ahead?
Dr. William Tasong, Cameroon and Cameroonians were at first considered to be people of integrity. As one counted among the intelligentsia in this country, what have you deduced had suddenly happened for this change of mentality?
I'm not quite sure I should be getting into that, but basically, I guess it's just around the way people perceive things, right? So if that's the way it is, that's the way it is. So, but I just feel that as a people, if we really want to develop and grow, we really need to show some integrity because, it's what you say, right? Your word, and if you can't say, Augustine, wait for me, and you wait for me for 100 years and I never turn up, it's useless. Useless. Right. You become a useless person for that.
That's right.
So we need to make sure that, if you put in a position of responsibility, it's quite obvious that you are there for that responsibility. And that means you have that, you should have that integrity to reflect within your own self and ask yourself, what's my legacy? What am I here for? What will people that come after me think of me? Why am I here? And how do I make sure that if I have this button to run the race, how am I making it easier for the next person that comes to run that race to be more effective and move our country, much better? So everybody, really, from all walks of life, we need to ask ourselves these questions: why are we complaining, and how long do we complain? If we're not doing the same, you're not doing things right? So we carry on complaining, and then we carry on the same. So it's really sometimes pitiful to think of it, because we have the skills, we have the know-how, but we're not working together. Let's put it that way.
You have decided to fight the complaint syndrome by empowering young people and giving them orientation through Dr. William Tasong Foundation. If you have a message per this concept and your foundation to the Cameroonian public, what you will be saying?
We'll be saying that even the Bible tells us that you should teach man how to fish.
That's
He
right.
will help himself and help his community and everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So our concept here is that if we can help even every one young person that we help develop just one business, they're going to employ, even if they employ just one person. And we know that our African society with extended families is going to have their nieces, their nephews coming to them and say, brother, this and that, I need a school book, I need a pen, I need all that. So there's that one individual, that business is going to be like a tree that a lot of birds come and fit within it. And imagine if we have so many of those such trees, you could see that the impact that will have in our economy. And if you also you talk about the gap between the UK and Cameroon, most of those industrialized economies, they rely on the SMEs, the smaller, medium-sized enterprises. So, and in Cameroon, that is fairly lacking because everybody wants to work for the government, everyone wants to work in an office. And so they end up now, no office for everybody. And then they blame everyone and they're frustrated and they're not using their full potential, really. So we feel that this approach we're looking at will help improve and increase the number of small and medium sized enterprises, and by so doing, get the economy moving in the right way, really. So getting more young people use their potential, getting, people not being idle, really, because the last thing you want is all this untapped potential that you have out there. Somebody said that the best bank is a graveyard, which means people take their ideas into the grave. The ideas that could have been multi-million ideas.
Yeah.
So we don't want that. So we want to be able to get these young people be able to express themselves, do what they really, those talents that we talk about in the parable, be able to use that talent the way God would have expected them to use it.
Good. Thanks so much, Dr. William Tasong, for being guest on Radio Veritas in the program Testimony. We actually crave your indulgence each time you are in the country. Please, you are welcome to create impact. You are welcome to uplift society. You are welcome to give an added value to the Cameroonian youth in order that this country can move forward. Thank you, sir.
It's been a pleasure to talk to you once more, and I hope that before we meet again, we should have more young people getting excited to join us. So
That's
again,
right.
I give the number again.
Good.
TasongFoundation.org, or you can contact us at 679-590329.
You heard it all. Of course, that is a Cameroonian-born, UK-based businessman and philanthropy. That was Dr. William Tasong giving a soul-searching testimony on Radio Veritas, impacting society, uplifting society. We do believe that you're just going to situate the foundation in order to make life worth living and to be a master of your own. Doctor, bye.
Once again, thanks very much.
And safe journey back to the UK.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where we draw curtains on the program Testimony this afternoon. I'm your humble servant, Augustine Wendundoye. I've been working with Frank Muna at the Techniques, wishing you a beautiful afternoon in the company of our programs. Good afternoon.